The next battle will be random number generators versus the Fat Stack Snorlax. Definitely, this is a coming out party for Fat Stack Snorlax. He finally made it into the playoffs after never even having a positive record. Very good. Excited to see what he can do. He's gonna have to face a perennial player in random number generators. What do you think about random number generators and demo?
I mean, yeah, like I said, he's always been a staple of the league. The biggest question and not even the biggest question, really, his biggest opponent has always been himself and his willingness to quit the league so early. So the fact that he's able to overcome that and actually stick around for an entire season, I think, is a real growth moment for him. And I think he has a good shot at going decently far in these playoffs. But he's got an interesting first matchup in Bisquick on the come up, coming through the leagues, doing much better than he's ever done before. And I think this is shaping up to be a pretty exciting opening round.
So, Random Number Generators is going to end the season in the 5th slot with a score of 13-9 with a 24 differential. Did very well. We're going to move on to Fat Stack Snorlax. He's 14-8 with a 19 differential. He's going to end up in the 12th seed. What do you think about Big Pugs? What do you think about Fat Stack Snorlax and his journey to playoffs?
A while ago, the question was posed somewhere in general chat, if the UCL was a shonen anime, who would be the protagonist? And a name that was mentioned over and over and over again was Bisquick, was Fat Stack's Snorlax, and was Will Tom's. As a person, this kid is just electrifying. I can't say enough positive about him. I think that's translates into his play now, as he's gotten further and further along in Pokemon, where he does play a style that is very go big or go home. It's very, I'm going to make reads, I'm going to make plays, and it's very funny too, because he spends a lot of time on the calculator, and he's not really quite there yet. So I think going into this match, we'll probably see Harry play a more conservative and understandable game, where we'll see some wild turns from Bisquick of just something that you can't think of what he's thinking of 6 turns ahead, and sometimes it comes back to bite him, and I love the kid more than anything. But Bisquick, again, like Trevor said, Harry's biggest opponent is of himself. Bisquick, a lot of the time, his biggest opponent is himself as well. So we'll see how these two guys match up.
So the random number generators is going to be fielding Rillaboom, Mamoswine, Cobalion, Noivern, Oricorio, Volcanion, Raikou, Gardevoir, Arbok, and Miltank. Seems like a pretty strong team, pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the fire water grass core that everyone dreams about, right? You got Volcanion, one of his biggest weaknesses being obviously electric and the ground type, but then you also have Rillaboom to cover that ground type weakness through the electric terrains, the grassy terrains, so you're not taking EQs. Also absorbing up those electric moves, so that by itself, great tomb on court, very hairy, very Demos playstyle, in that it's not super fast, but it does just enough damage, and it can check you defensively to where it finds opportunities to get in and get stuff done. On top of that, he's got speed in the back, Cryo in the form of Mamo, even more speed in the form of Gardevoir as a potential scarf holder, and the Noivern. It feels very to his style, and I think if he's ever going to succeed on something, this is the type of team he would be on.
The Fat Stack Snorlax is fielding Tapu Koko, Slowking Galar, Shaman, Mudsdale, Ilmise, Excadrill, Hawlucha, Alamomola, Raichu, Alola, and Galesapod. Big Pugs, what are your thoughts?
So, I was actually lucky enough to build this roster with Bisquick. A lot of the newer players, or a lot of the players beginning to understand the game in the UCL, do come to me and do ask for me for help. And Bisquick was one of those guys. This roster is one that I think screams simplicity, which is something that I think Bisquick thrives with, where it is just a lot of mons that do what they do, and they come in, they press the buttons that they do, and they come out. And, it doesn't really have a lot of intricacy besides, maybe the Koko or the Excadrill. Another thing that I think is always also really interesting in this matchup, we do see the Mamoswine and the Excadrill in this matchup, both, big ticket ground types, but there is the Rillaboom coming in with this grassy terrain. That's gonna bring these mons into a situation where, they might not be able to press the best moves. High horsepower can miss. You want to press that Earthquake. And also, the matchup into each other. That's the one I'm interested to see, is how this Mamoswine versus Excadrill plays out.
Awesome. Very well said on both teams. We're going to move on and watch this battle. Here we go. Random number generators will be on the player's side, while Fast X Snorlax will be on the opponent's side. The electric terrain gets wiped out for the grassy terrain. Shaman's in now. Grassy Glide will be resisted.
Oh, wow.
And the Rocky Helmet. And you lose some Life Orb HP.
Did more damage to himself.
Yeah, that he did. I'm surprised he went for the grassy instead of just switching out. I mean, maybe he wasn't afraid of the Coco, but just wanted to get his chip in. But either way, this Shaman's definitely taking it up.
Power coming out in front of the stealth rock.
Yeah, rocks up. I kind of like that trade for Harry, but the Toxic is ticking, so that is advantage for Bisquick there. Toxic on Coco is never what you want to see.
It's not the worst thing in the world because the Toxic is the 6% as opposed to the Poison's 12%. Coco does pivot around a lot, so it's not going to be in for too long. You don't like to see it, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. Another nice Toxic Hop coming off on Noivern. Noivern's a big matchup here because it is the fastest mon in the match, and in terms of base speed outside that Coco, so make sure Bisquick wants to eliminate all the speed he can so we can start getting into this, this Raichu, this Coco.
Shaman is going to be trying to wall off this Rillaboom's doing pretty well, but he does get that Rocky Helmet knocked off. Grassy Terrain will heal it back up to 50%, and the Synthesis will bring it back up to 100. Miltank is getting ticked down by the Toxic.
Definitely a nice little mid-ground here.
I mean, the important thing to see here is Bisquick recognizes the role of the Shaman. It's here to check the Rillaboom and then try to get Toxics whenever it can and heal up in the interim. I think he's playing that quite well. Earth Power is an unfortunate miss.
This Shaman has been putting a ton of work in already in this early part of the match.
Yeah, and now we see the Slowking Galara able to munch up on that Hurricane. Not hitting for too much, though the confusion kind of sucks.
We do see a Black Sludge, so we know this Slowking is an Assault Vest. We can expect to see probably, I would guess, Slack Off here. Something to note.
Icicle Crash is going to be tanked up by that Alamomola. Alamomola with the regenerator. He's got 2 regenerators on the
team.
Nice
little knockoff here for the
definitely very tanky. The knockoff will get rid of Miltank's item there, but Toxic will be put down onto the Alamomola. Here comes the Wish now.
Again, these Toxics, it's nice to have Toxic on a Pokemon, but they're not really actually getting that much longevity in this game at the end of it, because there is a lot of pivoting coming out of Bisquick's side. There is Regenerator. There's a lot of, this is a natural cure Shaman, so I can see the understanding of Harry, trying to get something out of this Miltank, but for me, these Toxics don't feel like they're it. They're not really doing much.
Yeah, I mean, another thing I would like to see is for Bisquick to be willing to keep... Yeah, but I'd like to see him willing to keep the Shaman in to sort of call the bluff after knowing that the Miltank can't hit you. Best he can do is S-Toss, and you've got recovery. But at this point, he has got the SD on the Rillaboom, so Grassy Glide's hitting for 40.
Now.
Toxic.
Now he's getting
kind of big.
Another Toxic onto the Rillaboom. Everybody's getting Toxic on this game, and this is going to be the first Pokemon down.
Really well played Shaman from Bisquick's side. Shaman did a ton of work already.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, the only worry I have is, was it too early to drop it? Because at this point, how's he going to answer?
Bisquick could have easily went Coco on that Rillaboom, avoiding that knockoff, and just U-turning out and getting out of that grassy terrain. I don't know why he didn't do that. A needless sack on the Bisquick side, losing Slowking Galar.
Definitely a blunder for the newcomer to playoffs. He lost 2 Pokemon now. It's 4-4. He definitely could have been 5-4 in this at this juncture.
Coming here for Raikou. And we see a high horsepower come out.
Okay,
knocking out that Raikou. Note that it was also faster, so we could possibly be seeing a Scarf Excadrill here. A dangerous late game win condition if it does get off its high horsepowers and Iron Heads.
Yeah,
we see Rillaboom getting into range.
Alamomola needs to be sacked there. Is going to switch into the Tapu Koko electric terrain. Once again, Volcanions in now.
Again, we see this. Oh, wait, back into the Raichu Alola. An interesting choice. Should have went just back into that Excadrill. And a Psychic in front of this. Dropping the Raichu Alola.
He must have been calling that Mamoswine switch and couldn't quite get it.
Those nerves are getting to him. And an Earthquake. Interesting. A high horsepower and Earthquake set.
But
we see the Grassy Glide come out. Wait, another... he should have just went the Coco here.
Yeah.
Oh no! Living from the grassy terrain recovery. We're gonna probably see this. An interesting play from the side here.
At this point, it's got to be just Shard and the Glide. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's
So
too-
we see
it's-
it.
it's too
Wow.
much.
A couple misplays from Bisquick late into the game. Gonna be the end of it.
The
And
grassy glide will finish off the
And
game.
0-0.
Wow.
damn.
If just one of those misplays were avoided, then Bisquick would have been moving on to the next round.
I mean, yeah, UCL. I was about to say UCL playoffs. Get those nerves running, and especially for a first-time playoffs player, somebody who has so many people behind him, I can see why he would get some nerves there, and maybe not make the best of decisions down the run. But you hate to see it. The hero of the UCL, the protagonist, like I said, again succumbing to his own, overthinking instead of just playing the game like he knows he can.
Yeah, and I think the big thing there was I know he's a man that likes to live in the calcs. He likes to look through it every single turn, but I think one thing he might not have recognized, that switching in the Coco would switch the terrain. At that point, he could probably tank one of those glides and give himself a way out. He had 2, maybe 3 opportunities to try and switch in, tank the glide on Coco after resetting terrain, and then try to get his own advantage, but he sacked instead, and it ended up costing him in the end.
Well, also remember, Trevor, it's not even taking a glide, because once the terrain is reset, it loses priority. It just becomes
so you're only taking one. You're taking one on the switch, and that's it. It doesn't get the boost. It's only 80 base power with the Life Orb, 135 attack. I mean, sure, it's nothing to scoff at, but you can tank one of those, threaten the U-turn, and start going to town.
Exactly. Random number generators is going to move on to the next round. Hopefully, we can see another playoffs appearance for the Fat Stack Snorlax. For now, we're going to move on to the last match of this video.